Okay, so we will make a start, see if anyone else comes along or not. I thought I'd just start off just checking in on how everyone is getting on. I'm curious to hear where you're sort of finding yourself 5 weeks in, if you're noticing that you've managed to have any new creative ideas, or if you've managed to take any action steps, and anything else that you wanted to share. Um, how you going, Kelly? Do you want to start us off today?
Sorry, I'm really tech challenged too. Yeah, this week's been really busy. I've just started a part-time teacher aide job at the kids' school, so that's been fun. Um, but also coinciding with we've moved my sound studio and we've got another idea working away in the background there. Where basically my husband's a builder, and so he's built a sound cabin near to the stream where we live because we live in the bush in the hills off grid. And so the idea with that was that we're going to kind of amalgamate the two things to create, like we're calling it, I think, the recovery pod. And the idea is that we'll have like a sound therapy session first, and then the person can go and basically bunker down for the day or the night. And so we're about to go live with that, I guess, in the next month. So because my partner is a builder, but he also has done his ecotherapy training, we're kind of amalgamating our two business ideas, if that makes sense, which feels quite
Yeah.
scary. Um, so yeah, with that, we've had to move some of the buildings because they're movable buildings, and so he's been busy doing that. But this week we finally got the toilet finalized, which means I can properly practice again. So last week was really good because I abhor social media. I'm sure, like most people, but did some action posts and got testimonials written, or asked, yeah, people whom had been with receiving treatment if they were happy to do that, and of course they were, which was really cool. Um, and yeah, I felt really inspired because I there were lots of ideas there that I hadn't considered last week in terms of, and I guess maybe it's like, yeah, maybe I've just been kind of quite consumed in this idea because it's already quite a big project, as it is. But feel quite inspired just by the structure in which the course has taken, simply because it gives you room for dreaming, and rooms for creative flair and fun as well inside of what we're already doing or already practicing, and just leaning or rolling with some disappointment too. I've we've got a collaborative event, a sound event with another, with a yogi instructor, and numbers have been really low, so we just had to cancel our event coming this weekend. And that, in terms of like confidence and stuff, sucks, because obviously if there's not enough numbers to go ahead, that means you don't get paid because you're not working. But also rolling with the notion that actually some things are a success and some things aren't. So I think that the mantra structure allows me not to take things that aren't working personally, or worry that it's not worthwhile sticking out with, if that makes sense. So yeah, kind of just flowing with whatever's coming my way, and quite a lot of surrender, I guess, in that process of watching it all come to fruition, and however that may be. But yeah,
Mm.
that's me.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds amazing. I like the idea. Yeah, and definitely don't take it personally about having to cancel events. It happens for everyone. And especially right now is quite a it's a tough time at the moment.
Yeah.
The way kind of the economy is at the moment. So yeah, definitely, but it happens to everyone. Uh,
Yeah. I guess it's hard when you pay down deposits to book venues, and so that was the sort of gutting part. And when there's two of you, yeah, you have to have kind of a minimum base numbers, and maths isn't what I enjoy.
yeah, yeah,
Or just trying to like business savvy. I just like doing and the fun part. So there's something in it for me too in terms of like crunching numbers and figuring it out. But then the solo events that I've been running have been filling. So I think again, some people, it's trying to figure out what people want as well.
yeah.
Because maybe it's not yoga and sound, maybe it's just sound, which is kind of cool too. So
Mhm.
it's been good to play around with different ideas in terms of trying to figure out what the market wants, which you've got to test it, right? If you've not done it before, you've got to figure it
Yeah.
out. if the
Yeah.
people are there to come and do it. So yeah,
Cool.
thanks.
Hmm. How's your week been, Susan?
Sorry. When none of us are very good at this, but are we? Yeah, a bit of an interesting week. I've been actually sick for just on 3 weeks, so I'm just
Hmm.
getting through that finally, which has been a real pain. But an interesting thing happened for me. I was doing the business profile thing on Google, which was interesting. But and then I went to test to see if it had done its thing, and came up with the sound healing and I was like, well, who is that? And I got kind of all offended, and I thought, oh, somebody's encroaching on my 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 place. And I'm like, oh, and it's in Richmond, and oh my goodness, and this is just terrible. And I was like getting all worked up about it, thinking, oh my goodness. But it was actually in America. But it was really motivating to like get your shit together, Susan. If you want to be out there, get out there. Don't be offended because someone else has had the wherewithal to get going and get onto it. So that was a real, I don't know, it gave me a real poke in the bum. I was like, oh, okay. So other than that, I haven't done very much really, but I've got lots of thoughts, but I'm drawn into the business that we still own, and there's been lots going on there with staff and all sorts of things. So, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to work there. I don't want to do that. That's not my thing anymore. So I'm really focused on this, which is the mission. So
Hmm.
I found it really helpful. And the mantra thing has been really good, especially with being unwell and being dragged in all directions, and just bringing myself back to centre has been really,
Hmm.
really
Good.
good. So a work in progress, but
Hmm.
some progress, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. How you going, Kate?
Good, thank you. Yes, just wanted to say, awesome, Kelly. That sounds fabulous, and I'd like to check out your recovery pod. Um, it's been, yeah, just to actually reiterate some of the things that Kelly's already said. The mantra structure's been really good. My mantra has been just choose, because I sometimes get what is it, analysis paralysis, and end up considering all of these multitude of, multi-dimensional universes, but not necessarily taking a step. So this last week I've just been choosing, and my biggest choice was I put my resignation letter in to work. I've said to them that I'll be gone by the end of the year, so I'm giving them a chance to transition, and also for me to just like now accept the reality of my choice, because I am aware that, you know, what you were saying, Tautoko, you run in regards to difficult times, and I live in a very sort of low decile demographic area, and so people don't have any disposable income. So I think initially my offerings will be very much koha based, but because of that, it's made me think a bit about, well, where to offer and how to offer. So we're quite an aging population in the Horowhenua, so I'm sort of thinking I might go around rest homes and speak to the diversional therapists and see if that would be something they might be interested in, which could be my test market, because they don't get to run away and be distracted by other shiny things. Most of them are just in a chair or so I don't know. That's what I'm sort of thinking at the moment. I might explore, but really I'm finding the whole course quite exciting. And now I've chosen, like anything's possible, really. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you. It's been really cool and really exciting to hear what other people are starting to do, because I hadn't sort of considered it was such a smorgasbord of offerings. So I did go online a little bit and found somebody who's sort of in the area, I believe, who's offering quite a plethora of healing through sound and vibration, but she's also gone into very sort of esoteric areas of life as well. She's got a very impressive credentialing in her website. So I thought I might actually stalk her and book an appointment and just see what she offers. But yeah, feel excited now that I've given myself permission to actually, be the fool and step off into the abyss, but sort of trust that the universe has got me.
Yeah, nice. Cool. How you going, Judine?
Yeah, I'm carrying on, moving on. So I had got my Nahira sound therapy on Facebook. There's a page on Facebook, just figuring out all this technology stuff of how to invite people to the page and all that stuff. And was talking with my daughter about putting together a flyer that I can take to some businesses. So that idea that you brought up last week, I thought sounded pretty cool. And given the space that I've been in people and culture, I know a lot of people in that space in terms of that, that organised wellbeing stuff. So that's something that I do want to explore. So yeah, just moving along and keeping on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Nice. All right. So today we are going to talk um, a little bit about branding, which seems a slightly odd and commercial topic for this type of thing. But perhaps we will just think of it in a slightly different way to what you may normally think. But branding is how we come across and how we're approaching people. So just for a moment, what I want you to do is close your eyes and just take a little inward breath and just imagine that it is some point in the future, maybe it's next year or 2 years or even 5 years down the track, where you're working in this field or the wellness field for some time. And imagine that someone has just attended either one of your sound journeys or they've just had a one-on-one with you or whatever it is that you're offering. And as they are driving home from having their session or their experience with you, maybe they are in the car and describing their experience to a friend. And I want you just to think, what would you hope that they would say? What do you hope that they would be feeling? And it's not necessarily going to be about the instruments or about the space they were in, and it may not even be about you. But how do you hope that they feel? And if you've got a pen and paper there, just write that down, or write a few, even just words down. Okay, and then you can set that aside just for a moment. I'm just going to share my screen. Mm, Okay, the resonant brand. So as I said, we're going to just touch into branding and how we can perhaps look at it in a slightly different way. So, what is a brand? A brand is not just a logo, but a brand is the feeling people experience when they encounter you. So, we need to consider how do we want people to feel after seeing, for example, your Facebook page, or after receiving an email from you, or after attending a sound journey, or after a one-on-one session, or whatever it is you're offering, or in whatever way you are interacting with people. What is the feeling that you are wanting to deliver to people? And if we look at branding as an expression of our essence, this is a really, I guess, a holistic way of looking at what this process is. So we often think that we need to invent a brand, but the deepest brands are not invented, they are revealed. Your brand is the visible expression of who you truly are. When your inner world and your outer world are aligned, people feel authenticity before you've even spoken. So a lot of people in businesses get really tangled up on trying to create something, trying to create a particular image or a particular feel. But if we are really authentic in what we are and what we're doing, then our brand evolves from that. As essentially, if we are working as individuals, with which most of us are, then we essentially are the brand. We become the brand of what it is we're doing and what we're offering. So your energy technically is your first brand. Before someone experiences your website, before they read your social media, before they hear your voice, they experience your energy. And this may seem, a little more on the esoteric side, but it is true. Our energy is what we are intending. What is our intention in what we're doing? What are we trying to create? What is our offering? How is our energy behind that? And people may not consciously identify it, but they instinctively um, ask on the unconscious level, do they feel safe? Can they trust this person? Do they genuinely care? Are they grounded? Do they practice what they teach? So, sound healers, we understand resonance, and people resonate with coherence and not perfection. And again, it's something I've talked a little bit about in the past, is about the more we look after ourselves and the more we are true to what we're doing, we keep learning, we keep practicing, we keep doing the work on ourselves, then that naturally follows through into translating as being authentic in what we're offering. So if we consider resonance instead of marketing, traditional marketing often asks, how do I get more people to notice me? And this is obviously all marketing everywhere is essentially trying to do this. And in some ways we are also trying to do this, but a more holistic question or approach could be, how do I become so aligned that the people who need my work naturally resonate with me? Meaning, how can I be the most authentic version of myself and be doing the best version of it possibly, that I can be more of service and helping more people. Um, and you will find naturally within that alignment that things will start to roll more for you with a more natural approach, a natural feeling to how you're offering. And this doesn't mean, obviously, that we don't market our business because we still have to function um, in the real world, better use of a word. But it means our marketing becomes an extension of our authenticity rather than an attempt to convince. So the brand already exists within you. If you imagine a beautiful crystal, you don't manufacture its beauty, you simply polish away the dust. And your brand is similar. Your compassion, your values, your life experiences, your healing journey, your personality, these already exist. So your work is to simply remove everything that isn't authentically you or doesn't authentically align with the work that you're offering. And something really important within that piece is your life experiences and your healing journey. We all have different gifts and we all have different stories, but our particular paths are all unique. We've all come from a different place. We've all been through different experiences, and it's those experiences and challenges that make us unique, and it gives us unique understandings into different challenges. And when we lean into helping other people along those lines, that can become really powerful. Frequency creates recognition. Every tuning fork has its own frequency. It doesn't try to become another frequency. Its power comes from expressing exactly what it is. And people are the same. When practitioners try to copy another teacher's style, language, or business model, they create dissonance. When they discover their own frequency, people begin to recognize them, and recognition comes before reputation. And this is, really common in the wellness space where people try to mimic other things, whether they're mimicking another practitioner that is successful or someone online who has hundreds of thousands of followers. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't draw inspiration from things, but if we try to copy things, it doesn't come across as being authentic. I I often notice this when I go on holiday. I noticed it when I was in the Gold Coast recently. I was at the beach. I might have even said this last week. I can't remember. But seeing people on the beach just posing for Instagram photos. There was one girl down there with her partner, and they were taking photos for about 2 hours of trying to capture the perfect image, but they weren't actually on the beach enjoying themselves or having fun, anything they were trying to depict in the pictures. They were just trying to create an image of something that wasn't real. And social media is full of this these days. Um, and it doesn't come across as authentic, and people feel that. Um, so really leaning into who you are and what you're offering and what your essence is perfect because there's no one else out there exactly like you. And your version of yourself is the best version you can be. Authenticity creates trust. So when we're authentic within ourselves, we build trust with our clients, our customers, the people that we work with, the people that we collaborate with, the venues that we work with. So many new practitioners worry about saying the right thing. But instead, if we look at what feels true, we can lean into a more authentic version. Authenticity is surprisingly magnetic because it is increasingly rare. And people are exhausted by polished perfection, like what you see on the Instagram pictures from that person on the beach. But people are drawn to genuine presence. And this is becoming more and more true. And even, I have a friend that they've become very successful on social media. They're a meditation slash yoga person in Mexico, and she has hundreds of thousands of followers. And she's just herself. She's just not trying to be anything, not trying to do anything, but just being genuine herself, sharing her fears, sharing her stories of her life, and people really resonate with her because it's authentic. So if we look at being coherent in what we're doing and letting coherence flow through our different avenues, we'll find that coherence can create trust and that sort of authentic feel as well. So what you want to try to have is a sense of coherence between every aspect of how people will engage with you. So that would be your website, if you have one, how your emails come across, like the type of language that you use, the feel of it, the music that you choose, if you are playing music before people arrive into a session or during a session, depending on what sort of thing you're offering, even down to your clothing and the way you greet people, the smell of your treatment room. Some of these might, be a little bit much, but just to get the idea. The words you use, your pricings, your boundaries, your follow-up emails, your social media, your treatment space. The idea is you want all of these things to feel like they belong to the same person. And that's how we create coherence. And when we have coherence, we create trust. This is an interesting concept just to contemplate, that your ideal client is often your younger self. And you can think, who were you 5 or 10 years before becoming a practitioner, before doing what you're doing? What were you searching for? What were you struggling with? What would you have needed to hear? Very often, the people we serve are walking a path that we've already traveled. So instead of trying to attract everyone, speak directly to that person. When you do, many others will feel seen as well. And this obviously doesn't mean that this is the only type of client that we may work with or that we're trying to attract. But it is a very interesting concept. Just as I was mentioning before, we're all unique in the path that we've walked. We've all experienced certain struggles. We've all had certain challenges, whether it be personal or professional in the workplace. But when we can really relate to what someone is going through a personal experience, we can really share how using what we've gained through our knowledge and our experience has helped ourselves, then someone will really be able to relate and feel a personal connection and how that can help them also. So I don't really like that term target audience, but this is a really nice place to perhaps contemplate, and it may be where you are leaning in towards your offerings and how you could do that. if you've had time in the corporate world, it might be that you can understand how people feel in that corporate environment and how you wish you could have had someone come in and offer some sound in the workplace. It may be any health struggles you've gone through, and how what you've experienced for yourself could help others. It could be mental health. If you've gone through anything along the lines of stress at any point. How did sound help you with stress? But it's a nice thing just to contemplate on where we can relate to other people from personal experience. So building your brand through presence. Your greatest marketing tool isn't social media, it's how people feel after spending time with you. People may forget what you taught, but they really forget how you made them feel. Every client becomes a living ambassador for your work. One deeply transformed client can become the source of dozens of future clients. And this is really important. Every time we show up, every time we are engaging with a client or with a group, we always want to make sure that we are on that same level, that same grounded, balanced space, and we're always 100% present, 100% there for the person or the group that we're with. And when we have that, people feel that connection so much clearer. And it's easier for that person then to really feel the work for one, but then also feel your presence and how you as the brand are that presence. Okay. So you wrote a couple of things down before, but just take a moment now to choose 3 or 4 or even 5 words that you feel define your brand. And when I say brand, I mean more your essence. And, the examples are limitless, but could be calm, professional, transformational, grounded, sacred, nurturing, empowering, healing, spiritual, scientific. Just write a few just simple words down that define your brand. And with these words and what you wrote down before, you just want to keep referring to these when you are in a creation zone of whether it be creating a website or creating a social media platform or even a social media post. Just check into those words that you are resonating yourself and that you are also wanting to, I guess, deliver through to other people. Okay. And then if we look into a bit more the mainstream of that, building a consistent brand presence in a platform, what should be consistent? So if we look at something like Instagram, it's often recommended your colors and your tone and your profile photo want to sort of carry that feel that you have. Same thing in Facebook, your bio. What would people read about you? What would your banner picture look like? What does your messaging sound like? Website also. What is the language? What are the pictures? What are they all saying? Or what is the feeling that people are going to have when they are visiting that? Same thing with emails. How does the email communicate? What type of language are you using? Some people will get as detailed as the fonts. Obviously, I wouldn't go that far personally, but it may be something that you look at, aligning your fonts, those types of things. Google Businesses, what are the photos and the services and the reviews? LinkedIn professional positioning. I know pretty much nothing about LinkedIn. I don't use it. But maybe if you are going into the corporate world, it might be something that you are looking at. But the idea is that all of these things are conveying a message. They are conveying a feeling, and they are conveying your brand, which is the essence of you. So making sure that there is an alignment with what you are presenting to people. And then some of the essential business profiles to consider, and we've probably tapped into this last week already. But Google Business Profile can help local people to find you. It can also help your Google rankings if you are with a website and that sort of thing. Facebook business page. Obviously, this is very good for communities and events. Hosting events is one of the main things Facebook's is used for these days. An Instagram professional account, so it's slightly different than your personal one. And it's a great sort of visual connection. It's a great place to post pictures and pictures that are giving the essence of you. Even a simple website can be really good, even a one-page sort of just a landing site with information, maybe direction and how to contact you or how to book or how to reach out. An email marketing platform. Platforms are not really that essential, but an email marketing system, it might just be using your business Gmail account or something like that, whatever, if you have an email that links to your website or something along those lines. But the important thing is that they're all conveying the same sort of message, the same sort of tone, the same sort of feel. And that feel is you. And just as every instrument has its own unique tone, a crystal bowl doesn't try to sound like a drum, and a flute doesn't try to become a gong. Their beauty lies in expressing their own nature fully. And in the same way, your greatest strength as a practitioner is not becoming more like someone else, it is becoming more completely yourself. When you allow your work to arise from that place of authenticity, your brand ceases to be something you create. It becomes something people recognize. And those who resonate with your frequency will naturally find their way to you. So this is just a simple look at branding and looking at you as the brand, and particularly as we're not potentially looking to start massive businesses here with hundreds of employees or anything. We essentially are the business to a certain degree. So how we become more of the best version of ourselves is how we create the best brand. All right. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ran. That was awesome because I've had a business in the past and another business that we bought as a going concern decades ago. And the whole branding thing then was so contrived. And this just totally does it for me, the way that you've approached it. And it makes total sense to just be yourself, which is the beauties in the simplicity. But yeah, Thank you. That's just taken a lot of the anxiety out of it, actually, for me.
Good. Simple is good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a really good reminder of I have had my own business a while back, which Nihera was the name I used then. And the things you're saying, that's exactly what I did. And I didn't have to market myself at all. I just got work and just went from there. And yeah, it's the stuff you've just said. Just really good reminder. Thank you. Really cool.
Good. Good. Cool.
Sorry, I just really quickly want to add.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, maybe at the risk of embarrassing myself, but I feel like it's a safe space here. It can be really strange coming from a corporate background. Like I'm very academically inclined or academically minded, and being ex-government and also frontline trauma support services, there's a degree of coming into sound therapy that is actually tapped into my mystical side or my spiritual side. And so sometimes I thought it was really interesting when I was reading through the testimonials, and when you shared that I asked some of my clients to write, some of the words came through, kind of had me going, like, they were like, what was one of the words? Like a deeply spiritual experience, or they had all these visions, or they connected to their inner child. And it wasn't like, it's really weird. And then I just like put a piece of artwork on my wall recently, and it's like a fairy. And I'm like, it's so weird that this is bringing out this part of me that I guess it's always been there, but it feels quite terrifying because you feel quite exposed when you're stepping more into a trusting side of exploring the greater depths of yourself, I guess. And so sometimes with branding, I find myself, and I don't know if others experience this, like got my professional hat on, my scientific hat on, but then equally, sometimes it's not necessarily evidence-based. It's anecdotal. It's based on the client that you're working with, and you can't deny what's happening on the table. So it's really, I find that quite challenging in terms of branding, because I mean, how some of the stuff that happens, like how do you share that? Do you know what I mean? Like it's really hard to explain. Hopefully you get what I'm talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do. And I can relate. I have many different hats, and I have hats that I've worn for a long time and then put down and picked others up. I do work in the shamanic field, which overlaps into the sound healing world, but then work into the yoga world, which also overlaps, but they overlap in different areas, and there's different conversations that I would have with certain people and not with other people. And it's yeah, there is a slight juggle within defining, I guess, the essence and how you relate. But as long as you also know your audience of who you're talking to, that's also the main thing.
Okay, so you do separate, because I guess when I was thinking about the testimonials, like there was one that I'd worked with that was like it helped with physical pain. So for if you're talking about post-surgery recovery, I was like, that's pretty great. But then others, it was more spiritual support, or and I didn't intend it to be the way, that was just what came through. And so in many ways I was like, do I have a personality disorder, or is it just that people experience, and so it's like you're saying, different hats, different experiences. But I guess it's really interesting. The more you see different clients, you realize the diversity of them. And so in some ways, I guess what I'm expressing is it's hard to figure out what your niche is when you have different kind of pockets of, people come to you for different aspects of your space holding, I guess, that speaks to different parts of them. And so I find in terms of the brand, it's nice to see it. You're talking about authenticity, and obviously I do my best to come across as authentic, but then it's really interesting when it doesn't seem like clearly matched up. And I loved what you said, Kate, earlier with the analytical paralysis. And I had that this week. I was like, all these different experiences. I'm like, and then I started to analyze it, and then I just got all funky about it, and I was like, okay, I need to put this down. I've spent too much time on it. But yeah, it's helpful seeing this structure and knowing that you experience that too, Ram.
Yeah, and your brand doesn't necessarily, because your brand is you, it doesn't need to define if you are spiritual or if you are scientific or if you are professional or if you are holistic. It's more of the essence of where it's all coming from. It can be all of it. Um, hmm.
Thank you for bearing with me.
Yeah,
I had a
cool.
funny, I had a funny thing happen to me the other day where in the last few weeks, I've managed to give a couple of treatments to people, and I was talking about it at work with somebody, and she said to me, "Oh, what's the name of your business?" And I mean, I don't have a name yet, but so I just said, "Oh, said fork off stress." And she cracked
Oh,
up. Said, really? And I said, no, but
that's excellent.
like, there's a bit of me that's a bit of a rogue and a renegade. And I sort of, I look at all these names online and they all sound so beautiful. And I'm going to be something that's not beautiful. It'll
Walk
be.
off stress. That's excellent. Copyright that quick.
But a name is quite a big commitment.
Yeah, it's actually something that's been on my mind recently, and maybe this is a good place to share is um, when I first started working in this area, I called what I was doing sound therapy, and then I switched at some point to sound healing. And now I'm thinking maybe sound therapy is worth going back to because sound healing's kind of exploded and it's not necessarily describing very well. Like a lot of people, when I mention I do sound healing, they go straight away to thinking sound journeys or sound baths, but not on the
Mm.
massage table as an actual therapy. Um, what are
Mm.
your guys' opinions on sound therapy and sound healing? I know there is a
Actually, that's right. That's I was just resonating with what you were saying, Kelly, with regard to, I've worked 30 years in the corporate world and government and working individually with people and with teams and with groups of people and that professional hat. There was always a professional hat um, that I had on when I was in that space. And yet for me to come and move into the sound healing, sound therapy, I actually said to my daughter, which one sounds better, do you think? And she said sound therapy. So that's what I'm calling this saying it's sound therapy because the sound healing does kind of lead more to this seems more there's research behind sound therapy. That feels more aligned to me too. Yeah. Yeah. And yet what is the difference? It's both the same thing, isn't it?
Mm.
It's probably that resonance thing. Yeah.
There's a lot on social media at the moment, Ram. We could have a whole session on it. But there are some practitioners out there who are getting really mad at people using the terms interchangeably.
Yeah.
And my academic mind is like, this makes me terrified to offer what I'm offering because it might not neatly fit into their niche baskets. But the sound healing, I think a lot of people sort of perhaps who aren't, say, as conventional might think, oh, that sounds really woo-woo, and therefore not want to reach out because, if you say sound baths, they've got to look, it's got a certain kind of, it attracts a certain type of audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've also had people book sound baths with me that had no idea what they were expecting. And that was the best. There was one lady I actually invited whom from my community that I knew was having a hard time. And I said, come along. And she's like, I had no idea what it was. And then she said afterwards that she had a full bloody ASMR experience, where you get the head tingles from the top to the bottom. And I actually had to go and Google it because I had no idea what she was talking about. And so she was really cool to have come along, because she didn't know what she was getting herself into, and then it was kind of scientifically backed based on the way in which her body was responding. But yeah, a lot of people I think are put off by sound healing because they think it encapsulates a really small subset of what we actually do. And then when you talk about sound therapy, it's like they're like, oh, do you just like bang instruments while we land on the table? And obviously that's quite different to what we do. And so then you have to talk about, I guess, the energetic work that you're doing as well. And so it is quite all encompassing, but it does feel a bit nerve-wracking, giving Instagram especially seems to be having a field day of trying to tell people sound healing isn't sound therapy and sound therapy isn't sound healing, and don't call it what it isn't, and this is the difference. And so it seems quite I don't know, heated debate. Which you've obviously seen too, maybe. Yeah. What's your take on it?
I mean, I definitely feel more of what I do leads into therapy. I forget why I changed from sound therapy to sound healing in the first place, but there wasn't really a whole lot going on in the space at the time, I think, when I shifted. But now the world's gone a bit crazy on it. So I do feel therapy describes the work a little bit better, particularly the one-on-one work.
I think that the notion, I like therapy. I mean, the healing for me implies that's what might happen.
Yeah.
Whereas therapy is more of a relational work together, which is the way that I want to do it, because I can't guarantee any outcome for the person, but and so there's no. So I think in some ways I don't really want to define what I am in lots of ways, because actually once I'm doing it, I'm not in control of how it lands or how it expresses itself or manifests itself through that person's energetic field and cellular structure and all of that sort of thing. So I prefer the slightly more remote, the remove and that being a therapist gives me, of being able to just know what my part in the equation is, because the rest of it's outside of my control. So yeah, for me it's sound therapy because it's adjunctive to all the other complementary modalities that can be utilized at the same time in that experience that's being offered for a person. Whereas I think people, if they just hear healing, it's sort of more transactional expectation set up. I don't know. You know, somebody get off the table, I don't feel healed. Well, no, because you had 30 years of shit to deal with, and this is just the first layer, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a beautiful quote just on that note. Okay, I this resonated with me, but it's like, are we healers or are we just holding space for the person to do the healing? You know, and we're holding their hand so that they can feel empowered to undertake what change needs to be made in their life. And I really resonated with that. And I guess as I have a background in trauma support work, and you know, I specialize in sexual violence, so I worked with sexual violence and domestic violence victim survivors, and even the terminology in which we use when supporting those people, it really was just creating a space whereby they could feel empowered. And I was working in the court process, and it was deeply harrowing work in terms of what they were up against. But I really liked that notion of working with them in an empowering way, so that they knew that they had agency and they had autonomy. And I think that's the kind of the flavor or the essence, I think, that I'm bringing into sound therapy work. Because people, you know, when they feel empowered or when they feel seen, then they know what's required. And I think sound is kind of like a language that we all speak, which is what I personally feel makes it so effective. And so, yeah, I think that taps on to what you're talking about in terms of not over-promising, but giving them some agency to be the leader, I guess, of their own healing journey. And we're just walking alongside, which, yeah, is beautiful.
Or we might just be the activation agent, you know. that choice point where somebody comes and leaves and they're on this whole, new trajectory somewhere. So yeah, I think as I got older, worked with so many people over the years, it's like I realized that it's not about what I think actually. The person's journey is their own journey, and I'm just this little, pixel along the way. But the profound impact of being a pixel in a moment in a person's life, it's a real honor. So yeah, we do hold space. We do just co-regulate with them if that's what's required, activate them energetically, and then, wish them well as they sail on out into the world. And hopefully they become a return customer, or, good word of mouth.
Might be some rebranding for me. Sound therapy, Aotearoa, instead of sound healing.
Oh, your cards say sound therapy, don't they, Ram?
Because they're old, yeah.
Yeah, okay, because I remember I don't know if I mentioned this to you in person, but I was like, why is it different at the time? But I was like, okay, that's cool. He uses them interchangeably, and I see you as God. So I'm like, if Ram says, then it goes.
Yeah. Interchangeable is good. I think there is technically, there is, a difference if you research sound healing and sound therapy, but yeah, I think where we go with it definitely leans more into therapy than I see sound healing as more of a going to a sound bath or a sound journey. Yeah, interchangeable I think is fine, but yeah, I think I'm leaning more into using therapy again as the word. Yeah, for probably all of the reasons you guys just mentioned. Cool. Any other questions on anything else, random or otherwise, today?
I forgot to tell you, Ram, I got my rain pillar,
Oh, great.
which I just love because I use it when I'm doing all the the assessment at the start, and normally what would be quiet, it now just has this lovely backdrop of sound. So the person's often asleep before I've even finished doing the pendulum and checking their chakras and whatnot. So yes,
Perfect.
thanks for the heads up there. That was awesome.
Great. Cool. Well, oh gosh, did I not hit record?
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
We're
I
still
saw it.
recording.
Yeah, it is at the top.
Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My one doesn't seem to say that it is, but okay, must mean it's all right then. Cool. Well, on that note, keep on carrying on with your work and your plans and your actions, and just add the contemplation of this brand awareness of you are the brand and your essence is the brand, and how how is the best way that you want to be perceived in helping people and how they feel after having time with you. And then use that knowledge to just see how you use to approach things. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Ram.
And we will
Awesome.
see you. Yeah,
Awesome.
next week will be our last one already.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Wow.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.